Hey everyone, welcome back to Launch Codes Football. My name is Chris.
And I'm Chelsea.
And welcome back to another week. We've got week 8 going here, another episode, another day, and we've got a lot of big news to talk about in the NFL. A lot of things that went down, some good, some not so great. So this will be a very interesting episode. We're not really going to talk much about the games because, well, the games are important and all, but I think we've found there's a lot of news we can definitely talk about this week that I think will be interesting. But Chelsea, how are you feeling today?
Doing good. My headphones died, so I had to go find a second pair of headphones. They were also dead. So then I had to go find a third pair of headphones. Didn't have the right plug into my laptop. So here I am rocking the bright green vintage throwback Beat Solos wired. We're out here living.
Literally every episode, you guys have to understand, if you watch the YouTube, Chelsea always has her AirPod Pros, flexing on the poor people.
That is not true.
And literally she went from her AirPod Pros, and then they were dead, and so she tried to find her regular, lesser tier AirPods, and then those
were the wired Beat like ear ones, but those were also dead.
So now you're a headphone gang like me. So if you want to check it out, just check out our YouTube channel and you can see how we both de-escalated at this point.
Dude, I really tried. I tried to pull out the OG wired Apple headphones, but naturally it had the lightning connector. So, and my computer is too old for that. So here we are.
It's just a big rip. But anyway,
truly.
Today, let's start out with some good news for this week. So, well, good news depending on who you are, but Von Miller was traded to the Rams for 2022 second and third round picks. And also the Broncos said that they were going to pay $9 million of the rest of his $9.7 million contract that he has left on his remaining 1 year with the Denver Broncos. Von Miller has been playing for Denver for 11 years now. He has won a Super Bowl with them, won the Super Bowl MVP, has had a spectacular career with them, and now is being sent to a Super Bowl caliber team in the Rams. The Rams actually said that they wanted to make sure, with this trade, that they were going to get, they wanted to make sure they did him right by sending him to a place that was, they said, in the thick of it, somewhere where they were competing for a Super Bowl. They didn't want to send Von Miller in the latter half of his career to some dead team that's not going anywhere, which I respect. They respected Von Miller in this trade, and they knew that if he walked on them next year, which he probably was going to, that that they were only going to get like a fifth round compensatory pick. I can't speak. It's fine. Chelsea's judging me hard right now. But anyway,
just say comp.
There we go. All right.
Yeah.
I tried to be fancy. Okay, my bad. I'm kidding. But yeah, so overall, I mean, honestly, to me, this is looking like a good trade for the Rams when they're trying to win now, and for the Denver Broncos as they're trying to rebuild their program into being elite again. That I think this is also a good move for them, and they got more than they would have had just leaving Von Miller to walk out on them. So yeah, Chelsea, what do you think about this?
No, I mean, I think it was a pretty good trade for both sides. I mean, the Broncos got, decent compensation for Von Miller, who admittedly is kind of in the latter half of his career now. Like, don't get me wrong, he's still an impact player and is still really good. But I don't think you're going to find anyone who's going to argue that the amount of good that he is now is the same amount of good he was when he won Super Bowl MVP, because that's just not the case. The longer you play, he's been there 11 years, so he's going to inevitably decline. But Von Miller declining is still better than the vast majority of players who play at his position. So that being said, he's still pretty good. I thought that they got really good pick compensation for him. Honestly, I wasn't expecting them to get this much. I was thinking, maybe a third, definitely not a second, and definitely not a second and a third. So shout out to the Broncos for actually doing a not terrible trade. Von Miller getting traded or, getting traded, leaving, whatever it may be, it's like the defensive version of like Tom Brady leaving, right? Or like the defensive version of Peyton Manning leaving. Like the dude was, fundamental to the Broncos, cornerstone player of their organization, an impact guy, someone who really loved Denver. So for him to leave the Broncos, super weird. It's like if any big player who's been with the team for a super long time leaves, it's super weird, just like this is. I was surprised that the Broncos paid $9 million. I think they may have gotten cheated out of that a little bit. I guess that they thought that getting the second and the third was worth paying $9 million. Not sure if I agree, but it is what it is. If there's a bad part of this deal, it's the $9 million that they paid. But honestly, them paying that, the Broncos got out, or the Rams got out in pretty good shape. It's like you said, they really don't have that much cap space at all. You look at their team, they're paying everybody. And I mean everybody. So they really don't have much left at all. So the fact that they only have to pay $700,000 for a Super Bowl MVP a couple of years ago, that's a pretty sweet deal. So I think that honestly, it was a good deal for both sides. Like I said, I don't think that Von Miller is at the top of his career anymore, but I do think that where he is at is better than a lot of people who play his position. And for the Rams, that's enough. You already have Ramsey and Donald. Von Miller isn't even the scariest part of their defense, let alone their team, which in itself is kind of scary. So, all the attention is going to be on Aaron Donald because, he needs like 3 people to defend him. Whereas Von Miller going to be on the side, sacking the quarterback. It's honestly going to be scary. I'm glad that we played and lost to the Rams already because I would not want to play the Rams at this point.
Exactly. The Rams now are just even more stacked on defense, and Von Miller, I think, is going to add another layer, even if he's not an all-star, more depth to that team, veteran leadership. So I don't know. I think it'll be interesting, and I think they were kind of looking at that $9 million part as like, well, we were going to pay it anyway by him staying here. Maybe they kind of looked at it like that. I think they definitely, though, said that they valued those picks more than anything because, they figured, all right, they'll have, if they don't pay this, then the Rams don't trade and then they lose out on those picks. So I kind of get why they did it. But yeah, I do agree. That's the hard part. That's probably the hardest part for them. But at least I believe that will be gone after this year, paying them the $9 million. But for the Rams, yeah, they escaped out of this. They did well on this.
The Rams have no draft picks now. And when I say like no draft picks, they have like 2.
But they're like a winning team, which is crazy. It's like they're literally just trading for players, signing free agents, and they're winning games. It's like, that's hard to do, I
wish my team could do that. Ha ha.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe the Rams are bucking the trend of draft picks, and they're just
I don't know.
You know what?
Not bucking the trend of the Broncos, though. Haha, horse joke. Because they have a first, I believe only one first, 2 seconds, I think, 2 thirds, I think, and who even knows what they have in the later rounds. So this is the year for the Broncos to have a strong draft class, and if they don't, people are going to be very angry. So that's something to look forward to.
Yes, angry football fans, my favorite. But next, we're going to talk about Odell Beckham Jr. today. Now, this is a crazy thing. Basically, he's off the team as of today, which being November 3rd. And he's off of the Browns, and it's really odd. So basically, to give some context, Odell Beckham Jr. suffered a season-ending injury last year, missed a lot of last year, has come back because he had to miss some of this year too. And to be honest, he hasn't played super spectacular. He gets targeted, a few times a game, but also, if you really look at it, Baker Mayfield hasn't played that well this year. And so basically what happened today was There was a YouTube video that went up of somebody posting that Odell Beckham Jr. has been open and Baker Mayfield's just not throwing to him, or he's like
It
missing.
was his dad.
Well, his dad didn't make the YouTube video. His dad reposted the YouTube video onto his Instagram, which it was a whole 11-minute video of just game film of Baker Mayfield missing Odell Beckham.
His dad was like, try me.
Yeah, his dad was like, yeah, this is true, and like uploaded it to his Instagram. He had all these like athletes and stuff adding him, or not adding him, but like commenting under. I think LeBron James even talked in there, Damian Lillard, like NBA guys. Nobody on the Cleveland Browns, I don't think, said anything. But basically after that, Kevin Stefanski, head coach of the Browns, said excused Odell from practice today, and he's off the team. He said as of now he's off the team. And so I'm like, okay, well, what happened there? Like, Odell didn't actually say anything, I don't think, in the social media. Maybe I missed something, but he didn't say anything in those comments like, yeah, this is true. So that leads me to believe something else has been going on underneath that we haven't seen. I think, I mean, we've had controversy with Odell before, and wide receivers having
Picking net.
Oh yeah.
Legendary.
Exactly. Wide receivers having controversy too. It's not shocking to anybody, but it's like, I'm just confused. I understand he can be frustrated, but I don't know like why he was cut, because I don't know.
I mean, I think that there's definitely more going on here than meets the eye. I think that much is obvious. You can look at how he's played this year, and quite frankly, it hasn't been great. I don't think that anyone will look you in the eye and tell you he's had a great year, because that's not the case. But yeah, there is unarguably something else that's going on. I mean, over the course of Odell's career, he's always had an attitude, right? I don't know if that plays in here. You know, I don't know if he and Baker have a fractured relationship. I don't know if he has been, you know, skipping practices or workouts, or he and Stefanski don't get along, or whatever it may be. You know, we might not ever know. You know, we might just know that he's off the team, and that be that. But I will say it doesn't really surprise me with a player like Odell, just because of his history. He's done things like this before, where he's been controversial and dramatic. So this doesn't surprise me in itself. But the thing that does surprise me is that if they're having all these issues with Odell, right? You know, he's not playing, he's not putting up numbers, there's personal issues going on. Why do you not trade him at the deadline? Like, for something. Like, it doesn't even have to be good. Just for something. Because now, if they release him, they're not going to get anything. So, I mean, you could have traded him to, like, a terrible team who would have probably given up a decent amount for him, even with the year that he's having. But they didn't. Which confuses me. Like, if you're having all these issues, just get something for him. You know, send him somewhere else. Let somewhere else deal with him. Get, you know, 5th round pick or something. Just get something. I mean, now you're not going to get anything. Now your pass wide receiver 1 on your team is out of there for nothing. I mean, you could have at least gotten something for him. Now all you're going to get is, you know, no wide receiver depth outside of Donovan Peoples-Jones and Jarvis Landry, who just came off the injured list and has his own injury problems. So I just really don't know what the Browns are doing. This is a pretty Browns thing to happen, though. I will say that.
Exactly. I mean, you're right in that, you know, it's not really surprising that this kind of happens knowing Odell's past, but I think what's surprising is that, well, what definitely I think has got him frustrated is, I mean, I even watched the video. I didn't watch the whole thing through, but it does show, especially against the Vikings. I mean, Baker threw 2 passes to a wide open Odell, and Baker just missed the throw. I mean, Odell had like 1 easy touchdown, but Baker underthrew underthrew it bad, and like the announcer said, oh, he had him, like that was it. Like that happened multiple times. You could tell he was frustrated about it too, or that Odell was frustrated about those underthrows. Couldn't really see Baker's reaction. I really think that if Baker Mayfield continues to not play well, they really need to search for a quarterback. This team doesn't have an excuse to be 4-4. They should be better than they are. I really do believe that. And so
I agree with you.
It's just like, I don't know. Like they lost to the Chiefs, and now looking at the Chiefs, like they're talented, but they haven't shown that they're that great of a team. And like they've been losing games that just like they lost to the Steelers, who the Steelers are proving to be at least pretty decent, like for what we're showing. It's not that like they're having these embarrassing losses, but it feels like from the way everyone was talking about Cleveland before this season started, their record has been disappointing. And I think it's starting to frustrate others around. When you're not winning and when you expect to win more than you are, then I think that creates a lot of frustration. And I think that could be what's also happening here.
Yeah, I mean, it's just kind of a sucky situation for, pretty much all parties involved. I was on the Browns hype train before the season even started. You looked at the Browns roster before injuries and drama and tough losses happened. They had a really talented roster, like a super talented defense, a lot of big names, a lot of really talented guys on that side of the ball. And then you have a talented offense. I mean, we thought that Baker Mayfield was above average, right? You have Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb, arguably two top 10 running backs in the league. You had, a couple good tight ends, a couple good receivers, a top 5 O-line. Like this team should be contending for a high playoff seed right now, not stuck in mediocrity. So it's very disappointing to see the way that it's all panned out. That's not to say they can't turn it around, but at the rate that their season is currently going, it's probably not going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, we'll have to see, how the rest of the season plays out for them. But I bet you if they start winning, that controversy goes away, because when you win, people feel better. So,
right.
We'll see. But if they lose a lot, expect a lot of frustration coming from Cleveland.
Which isn't anything new. I mean, Cleveland's been used to mediocrity for the last 100 years? No, just kidding. Don't crucify me, Browns fans. Just the last 20 years.
Yeah, exactly. No, they'll be like, no, we embrace this.
Bring the paper bags back out, with the eye holes.
Now, hey, Detroit's
like the Lions are wearing.
Yeah, exactly.
I know, but the bags are brown, so it's like kind of meant to be,
You're right. I can agree with that. But next, we're going to talk about some sad news as far as injuries go. We have not really injuries, but just some different things happening. So Derrick Henry goes out with a potential season-ending injury. There's rumor that he could come back in a very late week or maybe even a playoff game, but truth is he's done for most of this year. So hopefully he gets better soon. Rip to anybody in fantasy who has him. And yeah, I mean, because he was probably carrying those fantasy teams like he was carrying the Titans. Let's see. We've also got Michael Thomas announced that he was done today for the season, that his rehab and everything just had some setbacks and he will not be back in time for the season. So Michael Thomas is done as of right now. And Calvin Ridley, 3 big names, honestly, in football. We've got Calvin Ridley announcing that he will be done for the season until we'll kind of see. He says he has personal reasons why he is sitting out. So we don't really know what's going on. We know that he missed the game going to England for the London Falcons versus Miami game. And he missed that one due to also personal reasons. So honestly, a couple big names being pretty much done for the year. Chelsea, what do you think about this? Is this abnormal for a season, or do you think this is like, okay, well, injuries, stuff like this happens? What do you think?
I mean, the first thing I want to say is those aren't the only big names to be injured. Jameis Winston is out for the year with the torn ACL. So rip the Saints on offense is big what I'm saying. Yeah, literally. Oh no. So yeah, so he's out. Also, J.J. Watt out for the season with a shoulder injury. That's a pretty big hit to the Cardinals defense. So, I mean, yeah, there are a lot of stars that are going down. But honestly, I mean, if you look at the last 5 years of the NFL season, this happens every year. I mean, look at last year. The entire team of the 49ers, I think, just fell apart and like dissolved. Like they had like fourth stringers playing on defense. They literally had no one. But this year specifically with the big names, I think that, it's just tough. I mean, last year we saw an entire team wiped out by injuries. This year we're seeing a ton of star players wiped out with injuries. I mean, it's just sad. And even the players that aren't out for the whole season, I mean, look at people like Gronkowski, right? I mean, cracked ribs, punctured lung, might come back this week, might not. I mean, you can look at a lot of different players. Nick Chubb, I mean, suffering a calf injury, missed a couple of weeks. Kareem Hunt's on the IR, also with a calf injury, but they have Dearness Johnson, so it'll be fine. But yeah, I mean, it's just been a tough year. Seems like all the big injuries are happening to the most loaded teams, though. So at least they're loaded and have replacements. But yeah, I mean, that's just tough. You mentioned earlier, it seems to be a pattern forming with the Colts and people suffering severe injuries in Colts games because Derrick Henry was playing the Colts, suffered his foot injury. And then last year, the Colts were playing the Raiders, or 2 years ago, I don't remember which. Derrick Carr, maybe it's just a Derrick thing. Derek Carr, like, severely broke his leg, like, real bad. That was also against us.
Yeah, that was back when Derek Carr was having his MVP year. I think the Colts just have something against people named Derek.
I don't know. I hope this is not a pattern that continues because this is terrible. Like, I hope that this does not keep happening because I don't want the reputation of being a team that injures people because pretty obviously wasn't on purpose. But let me just tell you, folks, when Derrick Henry takes up 80% of your offensive yards and you run him 35 times a game, 3 years in a row, what did you think was going to happen? Like, being a running back is a delicate thing, right? You can't be Derrick Henry and be used 35 times a game. You also, on the other hand, can't be Jonathan Taylor and be used 13 times a game. Somewhere in like that 20 to 25 range is like perfect. So, for some reason, people still have optimism in the Titans offense with Derrick Henry not being there. I think that's ludicrous because he was literally their entire offense. I think that Ryan Tannehill is mediocre. I think that A.J. Brown is really good. I do think he's really good. I think their O-line is really good, but it has some injuries. I think Julio is still good, little washed, but, still good. Their defense is good, but Derrick Henry literally has carried that team on his back for years. And they're like, oh yeah, don't worry. We'll just replace him with Jeremy McNichols. No, you won't. You will not replace him with Jeremy McNichols. You will not replace him with a 36-year-old Adrian Peterson. You will not even replace him with the kid who played at App State. No, you will not replace him because he is the best straight up running back in the league. And him not being on that offense is going to bury them. And if it doesn't, you can quote me. I'll be very sad if it doesn't bury them. But statistically speaking, it should bury them.
Yeah, I can see that. I mean, they definitely do have a passing game, or they have some skilled players, and we'll have to see. Tannehill might have to throw more, or I've heard something about them going to potential running back by committee. Maybe they don't have Derrick Henry numbers for one guy, but we'll see. I mean, you're a Colts fan, so you hope the Titans go down. I think that's fair.
That's true. There's probably a little bias in my argument, but seriously, statistically speaking, Derrick Henry has carried that team on his back. And statistically speaking, for most of the games that Ryan Tannehill has had to carry in, he has not done well because he is not an above average quarterback. He gets hidden by Derrick Henry. They crowd 8 people in the box, stop Derrick Henry, And then Ryan Tannehill tosses it up against a mediocre player in the secondary and gets like 350 yards passing because they're all expecting Derrick Henry to run the ball. Like, I don't know. I think that Derrick Henry being out could really show the Titans' true colors on offense. I mean, look at Christian McCaffrey. He's been out pretty much the entire year for the Panthers. Remember when he played and the Panthers looked great, and then he went out and Sam Darnold looked like a chicken without his head attached. Christian McCaffrey is the Derrick Henry of the Panthers offense, and the Panthers offense has fallen apart without him. It's going to take a lot for me to believe that the same thing is not going to happen with Derrick Henry not being there.
All right. Well, there you have it. We got some spicy takes there. I like it, Chelsea. No, that's good. I mean, I'm very interested to see how they end up.
I'm interested too.
After losing Derrick Henry. So we'll
obviously
see, I like it.
Our condolences go to all of the players that are hurt though. Like, you never want to see people go down with any injury, let alone a season-ending injury, even if it's a team that your team is rivals with. You don't ever want to see it. Like, you don't want to see people hurt. So seriously, prayers out to all that they heal quickly and efficiently and can come back soon. But the Colts side of me is like, yes, we might have a chance.
Yeah, no, I got you. Yeah, of course. We never want to see people get hurt. But yeah, I got you. But anyway, so next we've got some pretty sad news, but big news in the NFL. So we'll talk about it for a little bit. Basically, what happened was Henry Ruggs has been in the news because he was drunk driving, going like 150 miles an hour and ended up getting in a wreck and killing somebody. He himself is okay. He went to the hospital and got and was fine there. But yeah, so Henry Ruggs is now probably going to be facing a long jail sentence. Definitely not going to be playing football anytime soon. And, you know, you just really hate to see this. You know, I feel terrible for the family involved in this. You know, it probably feels unfair and hurtful, and it should. I think that's fair. You know, it's a really terrible situation overall, and just really hate to see it. And for Ruggs, I mean, young guy, like, you know, and probably feeling like he's on top of the world being an NFL player. I don't know what he was feeling, you know, but he was, I believe they said his alcohol measurement was like he was 2 times over the legal limit. And so you just hated to see that. And I really feel terrible for the family. And this is very shocking and unfortunate news to come out of this week.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you know, you'll get headlines from TMZ every once in a while about NFL players doing dumb things, right? And or any professional athlete, to put it frankly. But normally, you know, it's not anything that's seriously serious, you know. Not that it's smart or a good thing to do, but I mean, this is just on another level, right? I mean, we got the notification that Henry Ruggs was in a car accident, right? My first thought was, oh my gosh, is Henry Ruggs dead? You know, that's like your first thought when you get a notification like that. And then, you know, the police reports started coming out and the cops showed up. I read a report today that apparently they think, due to like forensic evidence and stuff like that, that the Toyota RAV4 that he ran into was stopped, like wasn't even moving. And he hit it so hard that it caught on fire instantaneously. Now, you know, the forensic evidence may not be accurate. You know, they might say that that's not true. But if that's the case, he literally barreled into someone going 156 miles an hour with double the amount of alcohol in his blood that's legal and killed someone. That's just, talk about a horrific, horrifying thought. I mean, Henry Ruggs was born in 1999. I was born in 1998. I'm older than he is. Like, he's just a kid who made a stupid decision, and probably the most stupid decision he's ever going to make in his life. You know, he has millions of dollars. He's super talented, charismatic guy, has a son. I believe, at 22 years old. Why he didn't call an Uber or a Lyft or a buddy to drive him is really beyond me. You'd think that would just be the easy thing to do. Like, yeah, you're wasted and you probably can't use a cell phone. Have someone do it for you. Like, people can see when other people are, spacey. Someone could have done it and honestly could have saved this girl's life. I mean, this girl was just out here living her life, driving down the road, boom, over. I mean, talk about a horrifying thought. For the family of the girl who was 23, which is kind of equally as scary because that's how old I am, which is just a crazy thought. I mean, she's gone. The family has to deal with the ramifications. Henry Ruggs has to deal with the ramifications. Honestly, Henry Ruggs should be dead. If you are going 156 miles an hour in traffic and you instantaneously catch on fire, you should not be alive. So the fact that he's alive is like such a God thing. Like, he should not be here. It's just so crazy. I mean, the dude is probably going to spend the vast majority of his life in prison, which is just like, you can't even wrap your head around something that big. I mean, he's a kid who essentially killed another kid. I mean, that's just crazy. I mean, kind of going back to the ramifications of the NFL, rip the Raiders, because now they don't have a wide receiver one and they have to eat his contract, which was decently hefty, considering he's pretty good. So the Raiders are kind of screwed. Not that really matters in the grand scheme of things compared to all the other news about it that's dropped. But I mean, it's just such an awful thing.
Do they have to eat his contract? Like, if something like that happens, doesn't that violate it and they don't have
to I'm assuming, honestly, I don't really know that much about when an NFL player kills someone, like what happens to their salary. So I could be wrong. Don't really have much experience in this area. But the whole thing is just horrifying and horrific. And, there have been so many instances, right, of NFL players doing dumb things, like I was saying earlier. There's dumb things like a fender bender, and then there's dumb things like beating your child, right? And then there's dumb things like beating your wife. And, so many times we just kind of see these people just get slapped on the wrist, like, don't do that. Bad, And this is not, if that happens with this, something is messed up with the NFL, man. Like, Henry Ruggs should not get a slap on the wrist. Like, he should be in jail. I mean, if he somehow in the next few years makes it back into the league, that is the most ridiculously dumb thing that I will hear when it happens, because it just shouldn't. I mean, he deserves forgiveness like the rest of us do. And I hope that the family can give that to him. And, I know that God sees all of this, and that he's watching. And, I hope that if he hasn't already, that he finds his way to God, and finds some kind of peace and redemption in all of this. But right now, the situation is just horrifying. And I mean, that's really all you can say about it.
Yeah, I agree. It's a pretty bad situation overall, and just hope his family's okay. Hope the family of the victims, doing okay. I do believe the NFL won't have to do much because I think he'll just go to jail. But we'll just have to see kind of where this situation ends up, and hopefully, yeah. I mean, hopefully this teaches other people. I think I read somewhere that Nick Saban was talking about it because, Henry Ruggs went to Alabama. He said, look, we stress that players make good choices and we want them to. And he was saying, I hope that, basically this helps teach other people, And so, yeah, hoping for that too. And so we'll see what ends up with this. But I think we should go ahead and go on to the final part of this and just go to our game picks here. So we just picked 3 games this week. And the first one we want to talk about or go through is the Browns at the Bengals. Personally, I'm going to go with the Bengals. I know they just lost to the Jets, but that was with Mike White, coming out and balling for the Jets. The Jets fans are
Get me
probably
started.
screaming.
We play
Oh
the
my
Jets this
goodness.
week. Don't get me started.
So, I mean, I think I'm still going to go with the Bengals. I think they're a good team, and I think the Browns right now just seem dysfunctional. Baker's not playing that well. They just lost Odell. It doesn't mean that they're going to be terrible, but it's just like, what's going on with the team? So I'm going to go with the Bengals on this.
Yeah, I'm going to have to agree with you. Bengals on this one. I feel like there's not really going to be that much discrepancy with our picks this week, but it is what it is.
Yeah. Next, we've got Packers at Chiefs. So the Packers are going to be Aaron Rodgers' lists because I forgot to mention earlier, he has been tested positive for COVID and he is unvaccinated. So that makes it harder for him, or it takes a longer time for him to come back, I believe. So yeah, so I'm going to go with the Chiefs on this one. They did just beat the Giants, and while they didn't play perfect, I still think the Chiefs overall will be able to beat Jordan Love and the Packers. I think they have a decent shot at it, and it's at home for them. So I think for the Chiefs to turn their season around, if they're going to do it, this is the game to start it out. This is the game to really get it going, make a statement, say, hey, we're still a legit contender, beat the Packers, and, we'll see. So I'm going to go with the Chiefs on this.
So if the Packers had Aaron Rodgers, I with certainty would have picked the Packers in this game.
Yeah.
The fact that they don't is probably the most awful thing that could happen to the Packers at the most awful time. Because I don't know if you've seen the Packers next 4 games, but they're tough. Not that I don't think that Jordan Love can go out and put up some good numbers, but losing Devontae Adams and Alan Lazard is way different from losing Aaron Rodgers. Like, they went out and beat a team, honestly, that should have beat them without those guys, right? In the Cardinals. The Cardinals had the talent to win this game, and why they didn't is still beyond me, with all the injuries the Packers had to both offensive and defensive starters. But they clutched that out. But they had Aaron Rodgers. I would rather be without Adams and Lazard than without Rodgers.
Yeah.
I don't know about you, Chris. I feel like we're kind of in agreement there, but it's going to be tough. Not that the Chiefs really have anything to say about themselves right now, because honestly, they have looked terrible, so bad. And how do you go from last year to this? You'd think there'd be like a progression upwards, not a progression downwards. But then again, I don't coach the NFL, so I guess I wouldn't know. But that being said, I'm going to go with the Chiefs. I am going to take Patrick Mahomes over Jordan Love, even if the Packers have a more talented and well-functional team right now. I just don't think you can go into Kansas City with essentially a rookie quarterback and beat the Chiefs. If it does happen, hey, shout out to the Packers. That might make the Packers the best team in the league if they can pull that off without Aaron Rodgers. But I'd say the probability of that happening is low. So I'm also going to go with the Chiefs this week.
All right, there you go. And for the last one, Chelsea, we need to stop copying each other. I promise we don't try and copy each other on this, but I guess
if you listened to this show at all last year, we didn't copy each other at all.
Exactly. So next we've got the Titans at the Rams. I'm going to go with the Rams on this one. I believe Von Miller will probably play on this game. If not, he'll definitely probably. I think he has been suffering a little bit through a potential injury, but I am not 100% sure on that. Either way, even without Von Miller, I think the Rams will win. The Titans are going to be experimenting with a new type of offense. We'll see what they do with their run game, since it is so essential to their offense. Are they just going to abandon it now that Derrick Henry's gone, or are they going to try and adapt it with their other guys they got? We will see. But I'm going to go with the Rams on this one, especially in LA. So
this game being in LA, even if the Titans had Derrick Henry in this game, I probably still would have taken the Rams just because I think the Rams are a top 3 team in the league right now. But I think it would have been way more competitive, right, if Derrick Henry would have been there. Like, I would have given the Titans a shot. The Titans are a smash mouth offense. That's just how they are. They're not a high flying offense, even though they have people who can do that. That's just not their identity, right? They are going to have to shift their entire team philosophy on offense in a week because of Derrick Henry going down. I don't foresee that being effectively done in a week. In a few weeks by the end of the year, might not look so bad. They might have found whatever they need to find to make it work. But losing Derrick Henry and then having to go into LA to play the Rams, dude, that's terrible. Yeah, I got the Rams in this one. Hopefully the Colts can beat the Jets this week and the Rams lose, or the Titans lose, so then we'll gain a game. So mad. But I have the Rams in this one. I just think, not that I think that the Titans are going to get bodied without Henry. Like, they can still put up a lot of points, and they do still have a pretty talented defense, but I do think that they'll lose.
All right. Well, there you have it. Our 3 game picks for this week and us covering all the different news. So I think we're going to go ahead and do our outro. So Chelsea, would you mind leading in that?
Sure. Hey, thanks for listening, guys. Tune back in next Wednesday and or Thursday, depending on when the episode comes out, for more content. In the meantime, follow us on Twitter at _LCFootball_ and on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube at LaunchCodesFootball. I'm Chelsea.
And I'm Chris.
And we'll see you next week.
See you guys.
Peace.